Hey guys, welcome back. Jeff Bowman, how to build a cover letter and resume that converts. So resources for new grads from the newgradproject.com. Again, you're here with Jeff Bowman. If you've been to the website, you might have been to our about page and seen the little article about myself. Um, I'm one of the co-founders of the New Grad Project, and I'm happy to be talking to you today on how to build a cover letter and a resume that converts. And I'll go into detail on what I mean by conversion in just a little bit. So the first video that you saw, we talked a lot about how to land more job interviews. And specifically, we were focusing on updating your resume for every job that you apply to, and then using the same words in your resume that the job posting uses. So hopefully if you've started doing that and you're seeing some results already, today I want to go into a lot more detail on how to improve your chances even further. So really standing out from the pack. So it's good. It's awesome that you're now using the right words if you're going through and updating each of your resumes. But like I said before, how are you going to differentiate yourself from everybody else that's applying? I don't know if you knew, in Canada alone, there's 250,000 students graduating just from universities each year. That's a lot of people you're competing against. In today's day and age, people are flexible and mobile, and they'll move anywhere for that job. So you are competing against a large portion of them. So let's focus in on building a resume and a cover letter that sells, right? I wanna go through this big myth first. I can't say it enough. More is not better. I've seen so many resumes where people think the more they put in there, the better the resume is going to be. But that's not a fact. More is not better. Better is better. Remember that. That applies to many things you're going to have in your life. But specifically as it relates to the cover letter right away, don't put a bunch of garbage in your resume. Don't put a bunch of garbage in your cover letter. Focus on making it just better. So two key things to consider. All right, number one, you need to understand what the reader, the person who's going to be looking at your resume, looks at when they go through and review it. And then number two, you need to get the reader to want to look further. And this is where I talked about the conversion process. So think about it in terms of you're going to take someone through a process, you're going to submit something, and you're going to want them to go flip the page, go to that next step, convert them. You know, your cover letter should convert someone to want to read your resume and so on and so forth. Okay, so what do I look at first? I'm a hiring manager. I've hired a lot of people, and I know sitting on the other side of that table, there's certain things that I'm going to focus on. So if I'm a company that has an online application process, that's where I start. And this was something that I didn't really appreciate until I started working for companies that had them. But what I get out of the online application process is that everyone's information that's applied is presented to me in the exact same format. So I know where to look on each page to get the key information that I want. Really quickly, I can go in and decipher who's got the skills that I was looking for and who doesn't. And I can tell you right off the bat, the worst resumes get weeded out. And that's just based on the application. So at the end of the day, I don't want you to discount that application process. If a company uses it, I'm telling you, spend the time to update it the right way. I reviewed, I think, 12 resumes today. I reviewed about 40 resumes last week. And the ones that didn't take the time, that thought they could bypass the application process, I didn't even get a second look at them. I didn't even get to their resume. I didn't even look at their cover letter because I looked at it and said, I don't know what skills they have. I don't know what experience is, but none of the information's here. And if they can't spend the time to look at the information or fill it in, probably not worth me spending the time to try to find theirs. So if a company uses the application process, spend the time, update it right, and there's a risk. Like I said, if you don't do it, your resume and cover letter aren't even going to be looked at. Okay, so what do I look at next? I will look at the cover letter, but, and it's a big, 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 big but. If your cover letter is too wordy, I'm telling you, I'm going to skip it entirely and go direct to your resume. I won't even spend any time on that cover letter. So you might have spent a whack of time putting all this information that you think's value added in your resume, and I won't even look at it. So what should a good cover letter say? I'll give you the tips to put the right information, just the right amount of information into your cover letter here. Put where you saw the ad. So, hey, hiring manager, I'm not sure the title, you should find out who the title is, but hey, hiring manager, I saw your ad posted here. Then tell me a quick fact that shows me you know what the company does. So many people apply to jobs based on titles and don't know what they're actually applying to, the company they're doing. And I'll tell you, when you get through the interview process, if you make it that far, the hiring manager is going to be pretty disappointed. Then put some form of related experience. So just tell me that you have the related experience I'm looking for, and finally that you're excited that there might be a fit and that you want to meet us. Okay, this I'm going to emphasize is not your interview. Don't tell me your life story in your cover letter. Don't try to answer all the questions you think I might have on that one page. You're going to bore me. I'm not going to spend the time there. And if you're lucky, I'm going to flip to your resume. If you're not lucky, I might not even get there. So lots of white space. Tell me where you saw the ad. Tell me a quick fact that shows you know what the company does, some form of related experience, and that you're excited. Okay, lots of white space on that page. Make it look professional and get to the point. Show me that you respect my time, and I can tell you that I already respect yours, because I don't want you to waste the time putting a whole bunch of effort doing a cover letter, because I'm not going to spend the time that you think probably on it. So get right to the point, lots of white space, make it look professional, get to the point. Okay. So at the end of the day, what is the purpose of the cover letter? I'm going to keep coming back to this conversion concept. So the cover letter, its only purpose is to try to convince me to look at your resume. So think about that for a second. I'm going to look at your cover letter, and it should sell me on the fact that I need to flip the page. I need to look at your resume, right? It should convert. It should convert to a resume look. So let's get into the resume now. Remember, there's a lot of resumes submitted, right? I spend less than 10 seconds on each resume. I talked about that in the first video that you would have saw. I don't spend a lot of time on my first pass of each resume, sorry. I don't want you to be discouraged by that. I'm not doing that to intimidate anybody. I'm just telling you based on the fact that the ones that we don't want to read in detail, we don't spend a lot of time on. So you don't have a lot of time to really attract the hiring manager and get their attention. So in order to pass that first 10 seconds, I want you to think about these things as you look at your resume. I want it to be professional looking. There should be, again, just like your cover letter, there should be a lot of white space. I personally love to see a resume that has two colors. And you know, the bulk of the resume should be a very dark blue or black, preferably black, and a couple of your key headlines like your name or a couple other things, you can put them in a nice blue font. So the blue with the black I really like. You can kind of tell by this presentation, but I find the blue stuff jumps out at you, and with the rest black and a lot of white space, it just looks very professional. This is something I can tell you. Go online, do a search. There's tons of resume builders out there, and there's tons of free samples out there that you can see what a good professional resume looks like. There really is no excuse for you not to capture all these things. So give me a clear header. And when I say a clear header, it should be your name, address, phone number, your key information. Don't put 20,000 designations behind your name, especially if I'm never going to understand what they mean. If the job calls for those designations and you haven't put those in, other than that, don't bother. It just looks kind of silly. Then give me a box indicating what your key skills are, and do that in point form. So tell me when I can look at that and I can take a glance and say, you've got this, 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 I'm going to get excited. Then go in, and this is all on the first page. Tell me all the places you've worked and what your titles were. And this is just one line for each. So give me the title, the company, and the date that you were there. One line. Go to the next one, so on and so forth. The same thing for your education, and depending where you're at, if you're a new grad, you're going to put your education before your experience. If you got some really good experience, you're going to put your experience before your education. If you have room after that, put a few of your key significant accomplishments on there. So as you can tell, when I'm looking at your page now, I see a white page It's professional. It's got a couple colors. Your header tells me exactly how I'm going to get a hold of you. You know, what's your career objective, your key skills, and everywhere you work. So I'm going to be able to tell on that one page, do you have everything that I spelled out in the job posting? If you do, now that resume is going to convert to something else, right? It's going to convert me to look at the page 2 or page 3, right? Because all of this information was on page 1. When you get into page 2 and 3, and this is going to be just repeated, but I mean the company name and the size of the company, that's important. In sales, or give me the number of employees. Tell me what your job title was, your start and end dates, and then list out your responsibilities. Do the same thing for the next company, and so on and so forth. You may be a new grad, so you might be focused more on these specific group assignments, but those are great opportunities to tell me what you did and what you were responsible for and what the outcomes were. Same thing as applies. It doesn't have to be job specific experience. Okay, so some recommendations, and these are really please. Give me lots of white space. Again, get to the point, give me relevant experience, and include all of it. Even if it's just the company name, the title, and dates, put the experience on there, because I'm going to have to ask you in the interview if I see gaps, or I see something missing, or I see you graduated in a certain year and you haven't worked for some time. So just put it all there. So I'm going to summarize for you here. I gave you a lot of information, but really I want to boil it down into a couple key things here. So if you want tips to land more interviews, I can't emphasize enough. More is not better. Better is better. So your goal through this process is conversion. Tell me enough to get me want to meet you in person. So with your cover letter, tell me enough that I want to look at your resume. The first page of your resume, tell me enough that I want to go into the detail of your resume. When I'm done all that, leave me wanting to know more. Leave me wanting to meet you. That's how you're going to get me an interview, and I'm probably going to be excited to meet you. Now, as a new grad, I've done a survey, I've looked at data. I'm going to say this to you, and again, not to discourage you. I just want you to understand the reality of the situation is that 40 to 50% of you should have a slightly different goal in mind. Your goal is to get the hiring manager interested enough to want to give you a chance, not to be super excited about meeting. You want to get them through that process so they're like, yeah, this person, I want to meet them because I want to give them a chance. I really like what they put on here. And then the second job you land will be about them wanting and needing to meet you. That's where that excitement comes in. So link the job posting to your CV and resume. We talked about that in the first video. You have to do that. Update every single resume for the job you're posting. Use the same words. Make it applicable. Get past the first 10 seconds. So do the things I talked about. White space, professional, get to the point, sell me. And spend time on the application process if there is one, the online part of that. I can tell you, like I said, before I started working at companies that use them, I always discounted that and thought this was a step that's costing me a lot of time, and I just want to bypass it, and I wouldn't put the information in. I never got one of those interviews. So don't discount it, but everything you can, just like you're doing a resume, put all the applicable information in there. It's a conversion process. Get them to turn the page, cover letter to resume, first page of resume to full resume, and full resume to an interview. Hope you like that. Hope it helps. Start applying these. If you like this video, go on to Facebook, like our page, comment on our post. Let's start sharing lots of great resources out here. I want to know how you guys are doing with this information, if it's helping. Send me an email. Hope you loved it. Talk to you guys soon with some more resources. Take care.